Well, I just picked up a little electric knife sharpener, and you're probably going to say, oh, well, especially those knife connoisseurs, but it was cheap. I think it was under 30 bucks or something. The reason I got it is, okay, I got cheap knives, and I have good knives, but I use the cheap knives on, like, cars, things like that, and stuff I'm working on out here, and it's like sometimes I'm using the knife in the wrong way, or maybe you can... maybe there's a little bit of wire in something and I'm cutting it, whatever. So, or I'm scraping off some corrosion off of metal. So, the cheap knives come in handy for that reason, because you don't mind if you screw them up. It's only $5-10 knife, and some of these knives are pretty strong too. What I was using, I have a few of these pull-through sharpeners. They're good for cheap knives, because basically, you're not using the knife for, it's not your quote-unquote survival knife. It's not your woodsman's knife and stuff. So I use cheap knife sharpeners. But one thing I had a problem with even these pull-throughs, several types, was getting the end of this blade sharp as this part. Because it seems when you pull it, even if you're pulling it through at an angle like this, it seems like you really can't get this point that good unless you do it by hand. And I says, I don't really have time to be doing that, because this is probably 420 stainless steel or some garbage. It's not the best stuff in the world. And they get dull pretty quick, but, they sharpen up real quick too, right? So I got this electric sharpener here, and what it's better for is the longer knives in the kitchen. Like, it'll work good on this one because it's getting from about here up. On this one, it's probably getting from up here up. From here up to the end. But that's okay, because I have no problem sharpening this part with this. And the other thing is, I like getting the opposite side, because it's not I'm trying to make a dagger out of it or anything, but this point on these clip points, usually they're pretty dull. And if you're trying to get into a package, that's where this comes in handy, using the dagger type. If you're trying to get into a package or get something started, it's good having that point. I know a lot of people say, oh, it's only a weapon, but not really. These are actually very useful a lot of times. And it still has a cutting blade. And this side has the fine side, so you do one side. This is the core side. This is the fine side here. This is number one, obviously. Just said it wrong. But you really won't wear out the blade that quick at all, because it all depends on how much pressure you're putting on it. I mean, if you just got to do a few strokes on a fine side with not much pressure to get the blade back perfect, it's going to take a long time to wear out the blade. And, you're talking between $5 to $7 to maybe $15-20 knives. They're not expensive. Then on the bottom, I'll pull out one of these plugs. It says here, remove to clean. So basically, the little dust gets built up in there, and you pull these out, and you just, do that and shake it and get it out of here. But it's a good little tool for what, in other words, it's a matter of practicality. Or is it a value? Do you get your money's worth out of something? Say yeah. I'm probably going to keep this in the box on a workbench over there, because I don't really need it in the kitchen. It's just sort of like if I'm outside, I'm doing something, the knife gets dull, I can sharpen it up real quick. It's a quick and dirty thing. And I do have, the original Made in USA old timers from like 50 years ago. I got I got 4 K-bars. 3 of them are the ones like the big one's a standard size, one's a survival size, and I have another one that's a hunting version K-bar. And also I have a German-made buffalo skinner. I think that's really it for my... Well, you know what? Some of the other knives I have are not, even though they're not expensive, they're Aus 8 stainless steel. And that's where this thing can come in handy too, because Aus 8 stainless steel is fairly good. It's actually pretty good stuff. I got a bunch of knives that were not much money, that are full tang, and are Aus 8 stainless steel. And I basically, besides that, I took the handle, which was a pretty good handle too. I chemically cleaned it, and I JB welded, epoxied the handle to the blade, so nothing can come loose. For the money, it's an extremely good knife. But that OS8 is kind of hard to sharpen too, especially with a curved clip point. It's got a curve that goes like, it's straight, then it comes out, and then it goes like that. It would sharpen up really nice in this, because it's got some angles to it, And it's pretty, OS8 is pretty freaking good stuff, even though it's not an expensive knife. But this is where, and you're not gonna, I've used, I don't really use this one anymore so much, but it's still fine. I got a $5, I don't know, it was a Winchester or Remington knife that was basically just a pocket folder with a plastic handle on it. I was using it for 10 years with like mechanical stuff. And yes, I did wear down a blade a little bit, but not that much with the pull-through sharpener, just a little bit. And I actually got some knives for probably like 40, 50-year-olds that are fit pocket knives. The pull-through sharpener, they're not bad. I mean, for like everyday people, everyday knives, beater knives, they're fine. They're fine. It's just when you get these people that are out, woodsman connoisseurs and knife connoisseurs, yeah, but practical world, the pull-through sharpeners are fine. But I really always found that the pull-through sharpeners have a hard time getting the end where it's on these clip points right, and especially if the knife's got some angles to it, like some of those other ones I got. They go straight like that, then they come down, then they go to a clip point. They're like a certain distance here, and then they get wider, and they go into a clip point. They're a pain in the ass to sharp, especially with OS8 steel, but it's going to work great good with this. OS8 stainless steel, it's going to work good with these. And I'd probably even put my K-bar through this thing, even like on the fine side. It's not going to wear it out, really. I mean, it's going to take you, I don't know how many decades before you, in other words, it doesn't take that much material off. You just take off, in other words, use some common sense. In other words, when you're going to put this in here, if the knife is not really that screwed up, you just want to touch it up. Just go through the fine side a couple times. If you're going to keep constantly grinding the coarse side and using a lot of pressure, yeah, you're going to wear it out quick. But you could do that with a sharpening stone too. I mean, you got coarse sharpening stones and fine sharpening stones. One side's coarse and one's short. Goes fine. It's really the same principle. So for under $30, it's well worth it. And I'm just gonna probably put it right over there. Keep it outside. Keep it in a box. But if it's in a box outside, it's not going to get wet or anything. So because it's under a carport and all that, well under a carport, and behind something. So this way it'll be handy to me at any time. But it's a great sharpener for cheap knives. And you know what? It's a great sharpener for a lot of knives. A lot of knives. I mean, I would not be, my K-bars are already sharp. I would not be afraid to put them in here. Like if I need to touch them up, I just put them through the fine side real light. It saves you a lot of bullshit time. That's really what it comes down to. A real big disadvantage to this, it's electric. So, if you're a woodsman, this ain't going to do you no good. But 99% of the time, let's say 99.9% of the time, I'm not using a knife as a woodsman. I'm using it as a, person doing a lot of different activities that are like mechanical in nature. It could be the car, it could be anyone in the projects I was doing, I don't know, flagpole thing or whatever. Anything like that. Anything like that. So 99.9% of the time I have access to electricity, so this thing's perfect, because most of the time I'm working right around this area. I'm not going out in the woods. That's the big disadvantage to these things. If you're out there camping, that's not going to do you no good, unless you got an electric plug somewhere. And I would not hold that thing out there. I would get the tiny version of, I got one that's a pull-through sharpener, it's about that long. It's got the two sides on it, and it does the serrated edge. I get one of those things. But this thing's still a lot quicker than a pull-through sharpener. And for the price, good to go. Might last me 10 years. I don't know. Who the hell knows?